Now, after IBC has come in, not only can the borrower take the company into bankruptcy, but in most cases, the existing promoter cannot get his company back. So, it has never happened in the history of India. What is happening right now? So many large assets are going out of hands of existing promoters into new hands. It's very painful for the management, for the promoters, for the owners. But I think purely from a economy point of view, capitalism point of view, I think it's a good thing because these are now getting concentrated in the hands of stronger people. Perfect, right? So I think it is a very fundamental change, very thoughtful law, very well executed. There are issues. Don't get me wrong, there are issues even today. But the system is responsive and it is adjusting to the issues that we are facing on the ground. But it's improving.
Nitin, can you throw some light on the distressed business and why Edelweiss has been successful and what is that Edelweiss has done to achieve this land?
I don't know how many people know that we've been in this business since 2009. So I think business has come in the limelight today. But just the fact that we've been in this business for now 9 to 10 years makes us one of the most experienced teams in this country. If you look at the profile of people who run this business, like Siddhi sir, Kansalji, Amit, and the host of team, including people like Harish Chandra, Suman Kedari, I think cumulatively the kind of experience that we have on this floor is more than everybody else put together in this country in this space. So that has some value. Second, because we were there for so many years, our relationship with the banks, our ability to acquire assets, our ability to find creative solutions at a speed is much better than anybody else. Third, I think a lot of competition in this space, people talk about foreign players, PE firms coming to India. But my view is that in India, I have not seen any business in financial services space where foreign players have been very successful. It's not easy to just plug and play. You can't come in when the opportunity is there and go out once the opportunity. You have to be deeply invested in India to succeed in India. It's not such an easy place to do business. You have to learn. If you are invested for 10 years, you will definitely do it. I have no doubts. I mean, these are very capable people. But to come in 2015-16 and then start to participate in this one is very difficult. One is experience. Second is we were there at the right time, at the right place. Third is our investment that we have made. We have more than 100 people in this business. We are the only team which has a complete turnaround practice team inside the organization. 10 people are part of the operating team. We have 45 people with background in law, basically writing documents, negotiating with promoters, settling in courts. It's a comprehensive job. 45 people just doing this and 20 people in the investing side. So basically any asset that is in distress, we know it, where it is. And for us, this has been the core. This is something that we think is a very important business for us. So our commitment to the business is very high. So we are not seeing this as a one-time opportunity. We see this as a long-term structural opportunity. Hence, we are invested in this fund that we will probably talk about later. We have committed more than $200 million. Wow. So for us, this is not just about this opportunity at this time. It this is something very important to us, and hence probably the success, whatever we research.
So Edelweiss is a market leader in this. So any particular differentiation with the competition in this?
As I said, I think one, we had the first mover advantage. Second, we are now by far the largest, and in this business, it just helps because today, if banks have a problem, the first port of call would be Edelweiss. If a promoter has a problem, the first port of call is Edelweiss. The capabilities that we have built, we understand assets much better than competition because we know them already. So if it comes to pricing, we are able to price them better. If it comes to solving the issue, we have multiple pockets of capital through which we can solve the problem. So it just gives us an edge, meaningful edge.
We have been hearing a lot about the turnaround team which Edelweiss have. So can you just throw some light on that?
Yes, I think it's a core capability that we have built. It's held by Mr. Sumant Kidambi, who was with Edelweiss and Marshall for the longest time, and great guy. So basically what we do is any large asset that we acquire, 2 or 3 big issues you face. One, I think there are leakages sometimes in cash flows, and cash allocations are not the smartest in these companies, right? So the first thing that we do is we send our teams to their offices and to their plants to ensure that cash movement is streamlined. What do I mean by that? Our people would monitor all the purchases and all the sales very closely. That's first. Second, any expenditure above a particular amount has to be vetted by Sumant's team. Third, the business plans that are made, are they real? Are they being executed as per agreement? Is monitored by Sumant's team. Now, there are only 10 people. So, when he goes into an asset, he also will additionally involve people like Edelweiss and Marshall or Ernst & Young or McKinsey or BCG to help him. But the head of that practice or the head of that asset will be our person. It has helped us quite a lot. In fact, in some of the companies where we went in, for example, a paper plant that we took over around a year and a half back, the EBITDA of that company had gone to 0 when we took over. Today, this team has taken the EBITDA to more than $100 million a year. I don't think they've ever had a more successful month than last month, even when they were not in distress. So I think just the sheer discipline and the monitoring that our teams are able to bring in these assets create a lot of value.
This is such a great business, and more importantly, which can generate risk-adjusted returns. Is there any way investors can participate with us, maybe with Edelweiss in this?
Absolutely. And I've been getting this feedback for the last 1.5 years actually. Because Edelweiss is associated with this business, this opportunity. So a lot of clients, a lot of partners have asked us about how can we participate. We have a fund which is offshore, where we totally would have eventually around $1.6 billion of assets. $600 million is with Canadian pension fund, and most of the other money is from insurance companies. And so what we have done is we have created a slice of that fund of around $200 odd million, just for our domestic investors and just for our clients. This fund actually is going to be most likely oversubscribed. So it was difficult, but I just thought it would be nice to have some of our own clients as partners in this fund. So yes, you can participate through our fund structure. which we have just launched, a sleeve of our total fund, offshore fund in India in our AIF fund.
Great. So, what do you really mean by risk-adjusted returns?
See, fundamentally, it's a very simple definition that are you being compensated for the amount of risk that you are taking? If you're getting more than that, then that is superior risk-adjusted return. For example, if you buy a mid-cap fund and you make 14%, versus if you buy a large-cap fund and you make 14%, which is better?
Definitely a large.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the risk that you took was lesser and you still delivered the same returns.
Perfect. Yeah.
Right? Now, most people sometimes forget to compare like to like risks. They only look at returns. Because returns is over a short period of time, you don't realize that if you look at that short period and project the future, you might go wrong. So you have to, over a period of time, consistently deliver returns which are higher than the risk that is associated with the opportunity. I don't know whether I'm sounding very complex, but let me give you an example. A lot of our assets that we buy, there is very little chance of losing capital. Very little chance. Because we are buying them at few cents to the dollar, or we are buying them in a structure where capital is predicted by more than 2 times just out of liquidation. What you are taking, the risk that you're taking is on returns. The risk is not on principal. So the question is whether I'll make 15, 16. If things turn out great, maybe I'll make 25 to 30. If things turn out terrible, maybe I'll make 5 to 6. Now this kind of risk we like to take. Where our capital is protected. The variation is only on the returns. Why does this exist? Because it's a $200 billion opportunity in India. $200 billion of stressed assets. And if I sum total all the capital that is available in India for this kind of opportunity, it's not more than $4-5 billion. So then you can choose what you want to play. It always boils down to demand supply. Now compare this with public markets. There are a handful of good stocks. So much money. Chasing only those stocks. Every day you go and buy an Asian Paints. Every day you go and buy a Bajaj Finance, whatever. So the risk reward changes because of the demand supply in terms of capital available versus the opportunity. Here the opportunity is so much, capital is only this much. There are only 2 or 3 players who can play this option. Hence you are being compensated better than what the risk you are taking.
Yes. So, yes, the way you have explained, it looks like a credit risk which you are taking rather than anybody else saying it's equity risk.
Absolutely. We are buying debt of these companies. Yes, we take equity, but that is for free. We don't invest assuming that good things will happen to the company. Our hypothesis is that the company will not improve and then we should make money. If the company improves, we make a lot more money. So we will buy debt. And because we are restructuring and creating value, we are taking some excess equity as an add-on.
Oh.
So yes, we will participate in the equity upside, but not because we are exposing ourselves on capital. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Nitin, can you throw some light? What is the difference between distress credit and credit in distress?
Interesting. I like the way you put it. Maybe what you are hinting at, correct me if I'm wrong. I think credit, when you give to bad companies, will go in distress. So if you have given a loan to a company which does not do well, you'll become distressed, right? So let's say I gave a company $100 million. Now the company is not able to pay. This loan is in distress.
Yes.
But if I buy that loan of $100 million at $30 million, I am buying a distress credit. But I am not distressed because the company can service maybe $50 million or $60 million.
Yes.
So it's the price that changes everything.
So basically sustainable debt.
Yes, very sustainable debt. I am buying a bad debt at a price which makes it a good debt.
Perfect.
So I see ARC actually largely as a vehicle to acquire bad debt. Sometimes you need to use the ARC, sometimes you need to use the fund, sometimes you need to use the NBFC. Whatever we do, the fund participants actually end up participating in those structures. So ARC is purely a vehicle. Historically, it was a very important vehicle. Now there are opportunities which are far many beyond what our ARC can do. So a lot of direct participation in business happens. 2 years back, 3 years back, 90% of the deals could be done only through the ARC. Now I would say 75% of the deals or 60% of the deals can be done with or without an ARC. Because the opportunity size is expanded and hence the fund adds a lot of value.
So, as you told, there are so many enablers which have come, which is translating the big opportunity into transaction flow. So, what are these enablers all about?
Fantastic question. 2-3 things that I would say. One, as you would have seen, now a lot of bad debt got accumulated and you were still probably not doing enough about it. But now you have reached a situation where a lot of banks are actually either in preventive corrective action or are so stretched that they can't even make new loans. So it is at a tipping point where you have to now act necessarily. So that makes it a very interesting situation where you are actually not forced to act. So whatever you have seen in the last 3-4 years, you would see probably a lot more of that in the next 2-3 years. Second, I think the government has been very proactive. Very proactive. I think the speed at which they not only came out with IBC but implemented the law, and any issue that is coming in, the agency is working on that and fixing the issues, and the entire judicial system working along. It's fantastic. So I think the environment is very enabling. And third, I think that somewhere I feel the owner of companies or promoters have also understood that they need to solve. So there are a lot of vectors which are now moving in tandem to resolve this crisis. I feel very confident that this is a new era of credit in India over the next decade. And this, when we will look back in history 10 years down the line, I think we would have learned a lot and we would have grown a lot.
The opportunity is so big. So which would be the specific type of investments you would be cherry picking from this opportunity which is available?
Again, a good question. I think because the opportunity is large, we can choose. My preference and our preference is actually going after companies which are operating, where I don't see demand as an issue, but are stretched on their balance sheets. So basically what I'm saying is viable businesses at a sustainable debt. Not real assets, not companies where the product has gone down and then you buy it at 10 cents to the dollar and strip the assets and sell. Those businesses we don't like. Too much of hard work for the buy good quality assets which have got stretched because of that. Fix the cash flows, improve the governance, provide working capital, the value of the company goes up. and you make it.
We have been reading a lot about so many successful exits or maybe deals which Edelweiss has been doing. A lot about SRC, about Binani. Can you in brief tell us how the entire play happens?
It's not in brief, but I'll try. So let's take an example of SR. Okay. And I think it's still getting short, but I must say that 2.5 years when we were buying on the back deck, Steve was not looking very good. But because we are buying this in a partnership structure in ARC, I think we were buying it as a sustainable bet. We bought this bet at 50 cents to the dollar probably. And the company was still doing alright on EBITDA. Again, I go back to the same framework, right? The company was delivering EBITDA, and India does not. India needs steel.
Yes.
We are not in a situation where demand for steel is slowing down. It was just that we were importing a lot, and there were issues on some dumping and all, which had compressed the margins for a brief while. But when we bought, we still bought it at a very sustainable debt within that EBITDA. This year now the EBITDA has gone up meaningfully because a lot of those issues got solved. And don't forget the demand for steel is always there. It's a high quality asset, very high quality asset. Now we have to see at what price it gets settled, where we have bought. Which will mean that not only have we got the upside on what we bought, but we've also made the accumulated returns over this period of time. So this, I'm pretty optimistic, will turn out to be a very good transaction for us and for the banks who have sold to us. Don't forget, a large part of this upside will be shared with the banks. If they had sold us, or if they had sold to another private equity fund in 2 years back, they would have made much, much lesser than what they would make if we would have.
So that's the real valuation. So a lot of big investors, actually large investors in fact, feel that maybe this is an opportunity they can actually choose to directly participate. Is that correct? Or are there a lot of entry barriers which is there wherein it is very important for any investor to participate and work with a platform like Edelweiss which is ready to actually get into this transactions?
See, there might be some people who are running businesses. If they want to buy a business which is in their industry, it is possible. So if you are a cement player and you want to buy out a cement asset, of course you can go direct. We can actually still be a partner to you by providing you some kind of acquisition financing. But for a normal investor to participate in these opportunities is very difficult. It needs a build out of a complete ecosystem, legal capabilities, turnaround capabilities, follow-on, monitoring, just underwriting, investment banking sometimes because we need to exit. So I don't think it's a very easy thing to execute. So I'd be very surprised if a lot of people want to do this on their own. Very difficult.
What would be the role of leadership which Edelweiss has in this distress business? In the entire.
No, we are very committed. So it's not only about making money. We have to make money. But I think we are partners to the banks. We are partners to the firms. Help them come out of this. And I think we have contributed our bit. What gets me even more excited, more I must say, is that the number of jobs that we save and we create when we turn around the company. In one of these assets that I was talking about earlier, I was with the CEO of that company recently, and I could see tears in his eyes. And by the way, I must say that he has been phenomenal in what he has done. But he said to me that, Nitin, saved 12,000 jobs. 12,000. 12,000 families. These are direct. When thinking about the ecosystem that they would have built. For me, it's a very fulfilling, for us, it's a very fulfilling job, but also a great responsibility. So we hope that we deliver.
Why is NCLT called a time-bound mechanism to resolve?
Because it is. It specifically says that after a case has been admitted to bankruptcy, within 180 days, you have to, as a committee of creditors, resolve, find a solution. If you're not able to find a solution, go to liquidation. If you want, you can get a 90-day extension. That is the max that you allow. So let's say 180 plus 90, that is 272, which is basically 9 months.
Perfect.
From door to door, you have 9 months to resolve. If you're not able to resolve, it just gets sold, liquidated. And hence the pressure to act is very high on the borrowers as well as lenders.
So there are so many cases in NCLT, we have heard recently. So when will be the first outcome which will be coming?
Oh, there have been quite a few. It's just that you don't read about them in newspapers because that doesn't make headlines. I don't know the exact number, but I would say many cases have already gone through, restructured, and everything is done. I don't know, of the large 12 cases that we talk about, Ocean Steel has been settled, you're aware. I think even, which is this one? Electricity, I think, is getting done. And I think most of them are on the verge of getting closed. Don't forget, this is the first cycle where some of the fundamental questions, fundamentals of the law are being questioned. But once you have case laws, once you've gone through this process, it becomes just a lot easier. But I thank you for asking this question, but most people don't realize that a lot of cases have gone through.
Maybe
it's been a very successful process.
And maybe the impact on the promoters, wherein now they know they will be losing the ownership as a promoter. So maybe they would now cooperate to get it maybe settled or resolved during the early stages itself.
Yes, that will create another kind of opportunity. But I would wish to state, I think we should not paint all the promoters with the same lines. In fact, it's only 2, 3, 4% of the promoters who I think have been willful defaulters or have defaulted out of bad intention. Most of the time, this is just market conditions and something going wrong with the business. But now the law is very strong in the hand of banks. That will, yes, force promoters to be a lot more careful about the bets that they're making.
If I was an investor, I would always see this strategy, because I don't understand the strategies, a risky strategy. So as an investor, how should I actually evaluate this strategy while investing, and what is the way I can actually evaluate it in terms of the risk versus reward which I will do?
Actually, that's an interesting question you asked, because when you invest in a private equity fund, do you think that is a low risk strategy?
Never.
Do you think you understand how people... I actually struggle to understand how people price stocks.
Maybe the difference is, here we say distance, there we say growth.
That's true. That's true. But there you are paying a lot more for these companies and you are partly in control. Your rights are very limited. Here you are in control. Yes. You are seeing, you are pricing in the worst. And you are coming in as a debt. You are not coming in as equity. And debt at steep discount to the original debt. I would never say this is a zero risk strategy. I don't think there's anything like that. But I would put this significantly below the private equity risk, delivering similar or higher returns. And this is a good time to invest. If you go globally and you see funds performance, you will realize the best performing funds for the last 25 years are all distressed funds, not growth funds. Go back and check. Whether it was KKR, Apollo, Lone Star, Oaktree, all these guys have history in Blackstone. Have history in this. That's what this is.
Nitin, you told that Edelweiss has committed a large sum of money towards this strategy. Can you just throw some light? What is that amount and vis-a-vis the entire Edelweiss group and this particular business?
So we have committed $200 million in the fund.
Yes.
Now net worth is $1.2, $1.3 billion. So it is basically 15% of our net worth. And don't forget, for all the partners, probably more than 100% or at least 100% of our net worth is in only one stock. Can you guess which one? Edelweiss. So this is not something that is just being run by a fund manager only. The entire organization, if you look at the investment committee, there is Rashid, there is me, there is Majid, there is Vijay. If you look at the fund manager, there is Siddhi sir, there is Nitin, there is so many Vijay. The entire organization is committed to this one. And I think that's an important thing to do. It just should give a lot more confidence to invest.
$200 million is a commitment towards fund, but overall business?
See, we have already deployed more than $1 billion through our ARC and other structures.
Own Edelweiss,
Own Edelweiss capital.
It's a big money.
As I said, it's a core business for us.
So, Nitin, we would like you to maybe speak something about the entire opportunity wherein investors like us would understand if this is the right time to enter in this particular space and partner with Edelweiss. So maybe some light on this entire opportunity.
See, I don't think this strategy is for everyone. People who are slightly smart about investments and can think long term and want to understand risk adjusted return. I think this is true for them. This is not a commoditized product. Have you seen any of the distressed fund in India?
No.
I was half sure of launching it in India, to be honest. But I have sensed from a lot of clients that they want to participate. And if as Edelweiss we are not able to provide them the platform, I think it will be difficult. So for me, it is an opportunity for our clients to participate, and our sophisticated clients who understand risk-adjusted return. This opportunity is very clear to me that in the next 2, 3, 4 years, you will get a lot of these assets at a fraction of the price. And if you are good, you can make meaningful returns.
So distress opportunity is available globally. So big players like CDPP, why have they participated in India and that too along with Edelweiss?
See, India is a large opportunity, and for a lot of pension funds globally, India is becoming important. I travel a lot and I meet all these people, and I have seen the shift in the last 5 years. India is now at the center of the world. Now, obviously, India banking crisis was at its peak in the last 2-3 years. That's what attracted a lot of people's attention. And as I said, if you want to play in India, you have to be with a local bank. I think that has become clear to a lot of players globally. So in distress, I would guess we are one of the most eligible partners that anybody can think of. We are the leaders in the market, so maybe that was the reason.
Does the fund has any sector-wise preference?
Actually, no, because it's very sector agnostic fund. It's opportunistic. But to be fair, you'll see that every distressed situation is accompanied with some specific sectors. So infrastructure and particularly sectors like steel, power are the big distress situations today. So you might be seeing a little more of that in your portfolio. Having said that, we still have a pharma company, we still have a paper company. So you will have some diversification for sure, but you will see a little more allocation towards the sectors which are in distress today.
So, fund would be investing in several companies or assets. So, is there any chance, maybe out of let's say 10 companies the fund invests, one or two can go back and wherein the overall returns of the fund may actually not be what is targeted and actually goes down a little bit?
I'll split the question. Can two assets go wrong? 100%. I can promise you two assets will go wrong. It's not a chance. They will go wrong. But trust me, there will be two assets that will go right also. And if you go back to my framework, I said if we go wrong, we'll make 5-6%. Hopefully. And that is how we underwrite. And if you go right, who knows, you might make 35, 40, 45. Who knows? And because there is also an equity component. So whenever you project, you think about the portfolio. You don't think about asset to asset. Right? Second is, can the returns be lesser than what we projected? Definitely. I don't know. But the only thing I can promise you, $200 million of that is our commitment. So whatever happens, we eat from the same plate. But there is as much a possibility we might outperform what we are projecting. So that is the fundamental risk of investing. That I can't wish away. But given what I see today, I think we have a very good chance of delivering what we're projecting, and hence we are committing so much of our time.
How can the two strategies of the 3-4 things which Edelweiss is trying to do in the fund, like a debt buyout and NCLT, can become a potential multi-bagger strategy?
I think you have seen some of these cases, right? Already. Look at Nitin, look at SR. From our investment point of view, they've already become multi-baggers. The kind of IRRs that we are delivering are meaningfully higher than what we are projecting. Hopefully, because these are yet to be exited. But I'm saying if media reports were to be taken at face value. There's so many assets where we have equity and the companies that turn around, so I assume the valuation of those companies will be much higher. As I said, the base case returns is capped because of debt, but then there is an equity component. And if equity delivers, you can